This is part 2 in the Bluestone Treatise series. Part 1 was on the radiant colors, and this is on the 12 primordial clays. Thoth Racemus was an incarnation of the greater Thoth. His first incarnation, well, not incarnation, his first presence on earth was as Thoth Muzurut. He came from the blue star Rigel directly. And then when he left, he incarnated back into earth as Thoth Racemus. He still had plenty of star genetics, but he was bringing his genetic field into the earth for the first time. Thoth Racemus, while he was certainly an illumined being, he calls himself an illuminary, he was not as entirely connected to the Thoth intelligence as he was at Thoth Muzurut. But there was a reason for that. It was intended that he go through a process of evaluation of frequencies of the earth. He certainly knew a lot already, but he was experimenting with the consciousness. So it was important that he didn't have the full consciousness of the Thoth intelligence within him at that time. As Thoth Hora in the hollow of the earth, he has much more of the Thoth intelligence frequency in his being, but still it is not entirely there, because that Thoth intelligence is so far beyond this realm. Thoth Muzurut, who came directly from the blue star Rigel to earth, had much, much more of that Thoth intelligence, as we're calling it. But even he did not have it completely. There is some still to go, because Thoth speaks of the higher part of his being as Ushael. Now, Ushael is the whole thing, and that's, I guess, what we're calling Thoth intelligence, or at least it embodies that, because Ushael is not even an incarnated being. I know this gets a little complex here, but I thought I would just lay it out a bit, because as we go through this series of Thoth Racemus, you're going to see he says, well, like, I experimented with this, or I tried that, which Thoth Hora or Thoth Muzurut would not be doing. They would already know. So that's the difference there that I wanted to make in regard to the different stages of this Thoth being. There is one more thing I want to mention before we begin with the actual text, and I might have brought this up before, I probably did in the first part of the series, but it bears repeating, and that is that his writings, when I brought this through, you have to realize how long ago that was, and this was my first real work with Thoth. I had a few short transmissions from him, but this was my first real work with him directly. Not through the Star Kindred, but just him and me. And so I didn't have the whole picture. Later, I was to learn that all the books Thoth wrote, he did not write. He literally blasted them into the Akasha. I don't know how to call it anything else. He just, rayed them in. He rayed this information into his personal Akasha. And then his scribes through the ages, including when he was alive as Thoth Racemus, got my Thoth metaphors mixed there, would bring them out of the Akasha and translate them into words, kind of like I'm doing now. So that is how it worked, but I didn't know that when I wrote this with him. And he says, he wrote this and he wrote that. Well, also Thoth has said to me that he did write some journaling, some notes, some thoughts. That's different than writing books, So I don't know which is what here. When he says he wrote something, does this mean he rayed it into the, Akasha? Or does it mean he actually, wrote a note about something or observation? So we're just going to leave that open. It's probably sometimes he did this and sometimes he did that. So this is how it kind of falls into place here as we begin the actual text. I'm giving you only the parts that refer to the primordial clays at this time. From the text. Thoth Rasmus's affinity with the earth not only registered in his sensitivity and understanding of color, but cast his eyes to the land beneath his feet. It was known by the Egyptian physicians of that age that the earth contained the properties of health. The porous sand acted upon a body submerged in it, drawing toxins from the tissues. This power was especially potent when the sands were heated with the rays of the desert sun. The knowledge of clays had also been handed down through the generations as a valuable means of extracting toxins from the body and balancing the total system. It was thought by the people in this age that spirits abided in the earth, and when the soils were placed on the body, these beneficial spirits cast out the evil sickness from the individual. Thoth's sensitive touch found sand to possess solar radiation of a high intensity. He knew radiation to be harmful in large doses, but the porous state of the sand seemed to purify the radioactivity, transforming it into a healing energy. It should be explained that Thoth's psychic ability enabled him to detect higher states of radioactive action, which cannot be detected by present-day mechanical means. This high radiation was also true of clay, which Thoth Rasmus found to be greater in magnetic strength than sand. In addition, while sand maintained an invariant input-output ratio of solar activity appropriate with the induction of solar exposure, clay was in a state of continuous transformation of solar and magnetic stability. When applied to the body as a poultice, it assumed the character of the flesh. It allowed the sickness to enter its substance and then neutralize the imbalance it had absorbed. Thoth Rasmus previewed his future life as a Phoenician physician, and it gave him greater insight into the properties of clay. Now I want to pause a moment. Originally in the text, written in 1977, it said past life. But as I'm bringing this up here now, going over it with Thoth, he said, no, that was a mistake. It is a future life. Now, we continue. In that life, he had been, or he would be, an expert in the application of clays for healing purposes. Because of the subterranean lineage of the ancient Phoenicians, their understanding of the earth's anatomy was exact. Thoth sought to put this information to use and improve his knowledge of the subject. As a result of his perception and diligence, Thoth Rasmus discovered that clay, in addition to absorbing and neutralizing body poisons, acted on the energy centers, the chakras of the body, causing the regulation of the astral auric self as well. The internal use of clays was used by the Egyptians to directly affect and regulate the vital organs and normalize the stomach and bowel action. He noted that in the healing of the body through the application of clays, both externally and internally, often the patient would experience increased discomfort for a period as the toxins were stirred up by the action of the clays, in the process of being absorbed and neutralized. Also, each patient responded individually to different types, applications, and dosages of clay. Another problem was the inaccessibility of the clays. Egypt was a land of baked earth, clay being random and plentiful, but often the specific type of clay needed by a patient for his particular problem was a great distance from him. One night in a dream, appearing to Thoth, was a tall, tan man. Thoth Rasmus wrote of this experience. The being stood a great height, with his skin the color of dark clays. His eyes were as mighty spears flung into the pools of silver light. His hair was long and woven. He wore a beard. They were both the color of white thunderclouds. He appeared to be eternal in youth, yet aged with wisdom. He stooped to the earth, and in a gesture of determined strength scooped the earth into his hand and thrust it forward into the heavens. His fingers loosed from the clay, and it scattered across the plain of vastness. It tumbled and rolled, each particle of clay, until it began to whirl and spin as an atom of life. A brilliance came from the center of each particle, and the particle shone with great light and was set to blaze in the heavens, stars of the eternal orb. From this being, Thoth was reminded of his primary principle. What is below is likened to that which is above. Following this understanding, he began his work on the etheric use of clays. He taught that by willing the vibration of a particular clay into the body, the action of that clay would work directly on the auric level, changing the body with positive and negative ray antibodies. Radiation, wrote Thoth, penetrates the elements in two separate ray forms, positive and negative. When an imbalance occurs in the body, it can be adjusted by an increase in radioactive rays of either a positive or negative charge. This applied only to radioactivity that had not been loosed in the lower state. Radioactivity, as we are mostly aware of it, is in a discharged state, or warped, as Thoth described its condition. Should all the radioactive power of this planet descend into a discharged state, the earth would glow as a heated ember, being inhabitable to life. However, the ray antibodies are unified, being above the level of warping. When applying clay physically, a mixed number of these rays enter the body until it adjusts to the body's present situation, at which point either the positive or the negative ray aspect, whichever is the charge needed by the body at that time, begins to dominate. During this adjustment period, the system often experiences an increased sensitivity to its illness. By attracting the nature of the clay etherically through the auric threshold, this adjustment period is overridden as the higher self summons only the property charged ray needed by the body. Using this method, the concern for different dosages is eliminated as the body receives aurically only the amount needed. Should the patient summon the wrong type of clay for his condition, the radiation rays of that clay will not act on his system, but pass through the body. Through the discovery of this method, Thoth solved many problems, one of which was the inaccessibility of the clays. Now patients could draw from the clays all over the world. The next step that remained for the great physician was to list the most beneficial clays, those of the highest etheric value. He prayed for guidance. He knew of many clays, but he felt that only a very few would be acceptable for true auric healing. He was given the knowledge he sought. In a vision, he was shown a great majestic mountain with 12 layers, one mounting upon the other. Each layer was one of the 12 primordial clays of the earth, the oldest original flesh of this earthen globe. In his vision, he was told that in the beginning of the world, there were 12 degrees of creation through which the earth revolved. The auric body of the planet was constructed as a web of energies woven into the clays. The 12 primordial clays are those creative clays from which the rest of the earth was born. The etheric level of each of these 12 clays is aligned to one of the creative degrees. When such vibrations are absorbed by the body, the creative action is stirred within the individual, regenerating the physical system. To Thoth, in his incarnation as Racemus of Ophrah, it was revealed that the 12 clays existed deep in the earth, and that each clay ascended at only one point on the globe, each point being located a distance from the other. The clays pushed upward into the outer crust like a surge of life leaping forward. Thoth likened this to the pride of a color, and thus designated the term for the rising peak of clays also. As the pride of a clay reached just below the surface, it would often remain suspended for many thousands of years before breaking through to the surface. Once revealed, it might remain only 10 or 15 years before descending once again beneath the covers of the earth. At this present time, meaning in 1977, most or all of the prides of clay are waiting beneath the earth, beneath the crust. Now, I inquired about this, and he said that there are 1 or 2 points that are at the surface at this time, but soon will be descending, and he didn't comment on which ones. But I would like to say that whether they've broken the surface or not, if you're accessing them etherically, really doesn't matter. So to continue. Within the soft centers, as Thoth defined the surface prides, certain intelligent energies are brought into the surface matrix of the earth for that period of time. 2 main actions cause movement of the clay prides and the revealing of their soft centers. One is the movement of the geological plates, and the other is the action of the sunspots, which affect the radiation belt and ultimately the earth clays. Any action affecting the earth's radiation level will affect the clays to some degree. Because the earth's clays, not just the primordial clays, are so influenced by the radiation level, they act upon that level. Radiation control could be accomplished through the concentration of mental energies into the clays, rather than as the process of healing the body to draw from the clays. Now that's a little complicated there, so I want to pause and speak about it. What is really being said is that if you adjusted the frequency of the planet, you would not need to draw individually from the clays, because the planet would become the healing poultice. That's a little deep there, but actually I find it quite an amazing statement that this is possible. Through mental energy, the penetration of clays with the proper thought could alleviate droughts, stop flooding, cause certain lands to become fertile by reconstructing the soil, and even aid in controlling erosion. In Thoth's dream, he was instructed on all these things, but of greatest importance, he was given the knowledge of the primordial clays and where their prides were located. Through etheric use of clays, it was not necessary to be in the area of the prides, but it was vital that one have a mental image as to the approximate region of the surfacing centers. In the age of Thoth Racemus, no man of the East had seen most of these areas of the world, and of course they did not yet all bear their present names. Since it was necessary that he who summoned the etheric quality of the clay have a general understanding as to its location of the pride, Thoth was taken on astral trips to each location so that he might write a description of the places for his disciples to digest. He was especially overcome with the majesty of the Grand Canyon, naming it Maia, meaning royal heights. These astral ventures were the beginnings of his world adventures. Later he was to apply a process of atomic transmigration, transporting his entire body to desired destinations. Since each person reacted differently to a clay, Thoth Rasmus established no set guide for the use of the primordial clays. He did find that a clay would result in various reactions upon the patient depending upon the season. As the earth changed seasons, so its radiation density was distributed accordingly. Through meditation, he would pray and intend that the clay he needed for a particular ailment be made known to him. This method worked well for such an aware individual, but others were often not so successful. It was discovered that the most accurate method for most was to draw upon each one of the 12 primordial clays once as a primer. Most patients found that when they drew upon a clay their body needed, they experienced a tingling feeling or various other prominent sensations of energy. Sometimes it was necessary for the participant to draw upon all 12 clays several times before the needed clays began to register in sensation. I wish to pause here to say, now this was a different age, and while people were generally much more aware, they were not in the higher magnetic frequency that we are in now. Now this is a strange thing to say, but as the planet moves toward light principle 40, the moment of it moving from a world system 1 to a world system 2, the actual magnetic level that helps transport these energies is really becoming higher than it was in the days of Lemuria and Atlantis and when Thoth was in Egypt. It's just that we don't know how to access that. However, I would say that it probably would not be necessary for you to run through all 12 clays several times. Maybe. But there's just more of a frequency setting involved between the body and the electromagnetic field now that is present. To continue. Once the right clays for the individual were located, this established the only clays the patient needed to draw upon for the present condition. The method of using the clays into the aura was similar to all other mental concentrations taught by Thoth Rasmus. First, the individual was to repolarize themselves. Now, this is explained in the polarity section of my book, Thoth's book, but I haven't gotten to that yet. And the reason for that is it's going to be very difficult. I'm going to have to go through it a certain way and modify certain sections so that it will work for a video. And then there are many degrees of images that I will need to incorporate as templates. It's just a bigger project, and I don't even know that I can do it. So we're waiting for that one. However, you don't have to really have read that to understand the basic principle of repolarizing yourself. You just move into the center of your being, especially the solar plexus, and you ask from every fiber of your being to be repolarized. So what does that mean? It simply means you're being rebalanced with the poles of the earth. Now this isn't going to stay. It's going to get out of balance again rather quickly because we're going through so many turns of the whole situation here. The poles are just going this way and that. They're swaying in the wind. So, but it will be repolarized long enough, hopefully, for you to get in touch with the rest of the procedure here. That's the way I'm seeing it, and that's the way Thoth is indicating the possibility for me. Then the person, after repolarizing, was to concentrate on the region of the particular clay. Here the description of events varied. Each person imagined in his own way. Some depicted the region as given in various descriptions by Thoth. Others, while bearing in mind the region, focused their attention on the visualizing of the clay itself, the color, texture, etc. Often imagining would become so acute that the patient would actually smell the clay through etheric breath. Those who chose to visualize the color of the clay had to bear in mind that they were merging two auric energies, the clay and the color, and that the color is the strongest etheric vibration to which the body is sensitive, actually penetrating into a physical body polarity. Now, again, I wish to pause. All of this is interesting and can be utilized. However, at the end of this video, I'm going to be giving you a template for each one of the 12 primordial clays. Working with the template will shortcut this process. The clay can be applied freely in etheric treatment, but as with all auric therapy, the great physician cautioned that the chakras, especially the third eye, should not be overworked. Thus he recommended that one should draw upon a clay for only 5 to 10 minutes at a time. However, if such a practice were in vogue today, the exercise time for the energy centers would need to be reduced to 3 to 5 minutes, as the ancients were more accustomed to astral energies than our present civilizations. And I would also add, because of the difference in the electromagnetic field, as I previously stated, that lesser time would be as potent in regard to what you receive from it because of the current state of the electromagnetic field. Even though it's very unstable, it is more aligned to direct receipt, even more so than it was in the ancient days. So this is kind of a game we play to align ourselves just right to catch the wave. But again, when we get to the templates, which we will in just a moment, I will explain how this situation can be more stabilized. To continue, Thoth instructed that the etheric clay therapy could be used in place of or in addition to oral and poultice application. Thoth defined the medicinal quality of clay thusly: "'Tis a facile substance of purifying earth that becomes the body of that which is brought together. Within the substance is contained the rarefied atoms which, once enjoined with the greater body, become the whole life of that body, as the yeast that raises the bread and makes it whole. Clay takes into itself the living germ, purifies it, and returns it to the body. It is the perfect regenerator." So now we come to the templates for the 12 primordial clays. This, of course, Thoth gave me recently as I was preparing this video, the images for the video. As you will probably know if you've been following the frequency templates information, but just briefly, you can screenshot each one of these templates, and I would suggest to know which one you need to use at the time. First, you do go through each one of the 12. In other words, you're going to focus on each one of the 12, I would say at least 30 seconds. And feel in your body what one maybe speaks to you, both visually and the feeling at the moment. But you can also use a pendulum. Now, pendulums aren't perfect, but neither are feelings. However, you can use a pendulum, and I think you could get a degree of accuracy with it. Maybe you could use both. First, you go through the feeling. You get the template that you feel is the right one for you, and then maybe you use the pendulum to verify that. So you're having a two ways to experience that feeling. So once you've decided which template for the day, or maybe for the week, or whatever, as long as it takes, you need to work with, then you can begin to open up to that frequency. You can keep the image on your phone. Place your pointing finger on the image. So you're displaying it on your phone. You're putting your finger in the center of the image, very lightly. and focusing on the image and sending your connective frequency into it for 30 seconds. When you take your finger off, continue to look at it for just a little while, 5 or 6 seconds. These are the sacred 12 primordial clays in order from highest in etheric level to lowest that were revealed to Thoth race Misavafra. Now, when I say lowest, these different frequencies hold a schematic together. So when you say lowest, it doesn't mean, this one doesn't work as well as the highest one, or it's not on the more spiritual frequency. That's not what he's saying here, and it's not explained well. Remember, this was in 1977. But what he really means here is that there is a matrix. So the lowest is not low like unspiritual or less vibration. It has to have an order of placement in the experience if you're doing the whole of the list, the whole of it. So there's a difference, there's a variation in the frequency modulation. But the lowest doesn't mean it's the least empowered. It just means that is the placement of how it is designed as a template, a larger template, a matrix, let's say, in the whole spectrum.